Welcome back and greetings to 12 tribes, to those who are the strangers that want to join with the 12 tribes, the nation of Israel, and the true God Yah, and those that are just seeking, because everybody's seeking for something, right? And just seeking some truth to some hope to escape the terrible situation that now exists on planet Earth. Okay, so we were looking at Daniel chapter 11. We went through the history. We went through the history of how the Roman Empire came into existence, that it started with the four divisions that were the Greek Empire, and eventually there was the king of the south and the king of the north, and eventually the king of the north transformed that kingdom transformed from what is now Iraq and went to Rome and became the Roman Empire. Okay, and now also with that transformation, now that did not stop various powers from the south from trying to attack Rome. But Rome was ultimately prevailed. It ultimately prevailed, as prophecy showed us it would, being the legs of iron and being the feet of iron and clay. So ultimately would prevail. Okay. So what was I going to say? So now we're at the point where the Caesars are now in charge of the earth, and they have established. And the word I was looking for in the last section, which I couldn't think of, is the word garrison. They have established garrisons in Israel. They established garrison. That means a garrison is a military operation and basically a governor of an area representing the power that controls the area. So Pilate was the procurator of that garrison. And of course, they had in Jerusalem Roman soldiers marching the streets. Okay. So because that was showing they were in control, as the Bible showed they would be when Daniel was shown the truth would be stamped to the ground, that there was going to be an abomination that make a desolate setup. Okay, and they'll rule for more than 2,000 years, and they're the sons of Yefet. Here we are. Okay, started with the Medes and the Persians, then went to the Greeks, then the Romans. Now, the Romans, as we're going to continue to read in this section, the Romans would be transformed from the Roman Empire to what was known as, and I'm saying to you what it is known as even now, the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, and that transformation included a transformation from a nation or an empire that had its own armies, had its own government, okay, and control other places, to an empire and to a nation that's religious, that has control of the governments and armies of other nations. Okay, and let's look at that. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13 outlines this when it talks about the United States of America as the second beast that comes up in Revelation 13, the first beast being the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, let's take a look at Revelation 13 first, beginning at verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast representing an empire, a kingdom, a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. The blasphemous name makes it a religious context that's anti-Messiah, anti the way. People call it now, the pagans call it anti-Christ. That's a pagan name for it. Okay, that's a pagan name for it, because the pagans call the way, who is the Messiah, Christos. And they call their followers Christianos, which is really now a whole different religion, which this beast represents. Okay, they're not representing the Hebrew Messiah, who is the way. Messiah Hawashah, the Hebrew, and we just read that in the previous section, he was called the way. And his followers were followers of, as we saw in Acts chapter 9, Acts chapter 18, Acts chapter 19, they were called followers of the way, which is the Hebrew Messiah, who said, no man cometh unto the Father. The Father is not the same God as the Christians. The Father is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of the nation of Israel only. And those that follow him are connected to the nation of Israel. But when the Romans taken away the daily sacrifice by destroying the temple, and the abomination that make it desolate is now set up, that is the Roman Empire, that later became the Holy Roman Empire, and the abomination make it desolate removes the daily sacrifice. That is, the people that are representing the true Israelites of the true way are removed, later to be placed in slavery, which we know, and to be replaced by this beast. Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and the deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. We're going to talk about that deadly wound, Daniel chapter 12. Okay. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Dragon gave him power, seat, and authority, and the whole world worshiped it. That is the system that we're now in. I don't care what you call yourself. You're in this system. You're in a Babylonian system controlled by Holy Rome. And the money part is run by the Ashkenazi Jews. And they're beneath Holy Rome. Okay? I don't care what religion you're in. If you're in an organized religion, especially any Christian religion, you're a Catholic. The sad part is, the Bible says they don't even know that they worshiping the dragon. And they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. That's 1,260 years. That's also 3.5 years. It's both. We're going to talk about that. And he opened his mouth and blasphemed against Yah, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. That's the Israelites, the true Israelites, the children of the Father that need to come through the way. And power was given unto him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear to hear, let him hear. See, you in any of these religious institutions, you're Roman Catholic. You just don't realize. People have trouble with that. You know, I talk to SDAs, right? And they will acknowledge, oh yeah, Jesuits have infiltrated our church. They're messing with our Sabbath quarterly, but you don't understand. You're under their control. They just haven't infiltrated your church. They control your church. You worship the Holy Roman Empire. And they're, oh no, you're calling us Babylon. They get all tripped out. Those people not acknowledging the truth. See? Truth hurts, man. It's not, people that first get it's not something that you want. Especially when you're in an environment where everybody treats their church and their politics like their favorite sports team. Doesn't matter what your sports team does, you're going to follow it, right? Well, what your church does, what you discover about it, no matter how much dirt you discover about it, no matter how much you discover it's actually run by the dragon, you're still going to be in it. That's how much they got you brainwashed. You're not following truth anymore. You're following your favorite color, like a gang or a club. You become a member of a club. It's called the church. Okay? That's the truth about it. So if you're an SDA or a Baptist or Pentecostal or Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon, you're a Catholic. You just don't realize it, unfortunately. Okay? But all your churches, the leaders of all your churches, give honor to Rome and believe that all these churches, they all believe you all worship the same God. And you do. It's the dragon. It's the dragon. It is not the God of the way. It's not the Father of the way. because he's a Hebrew. Okay. And he has a chosen people that were once enslaved and are now the bottom rung of the society of the dragon. Okay. Revelation chapter 13. Let's continue. If any man have an ear to hear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, he that is into captivity, shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints, that is, the Israelites, the true bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. This is the United States of America. Look, watch this. Verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth, the whole world, and them which dwell therein, to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now you know why. Your Senate leaders, your House leaders, your Supreme Court, and now your newly elected President, Joe Biden, are Roman Catholic. Now you know why the supplement to them and the banksters on Wall Street are Ashkenazi Jewish. Now you know why all the music industry, all the Hollywood industry is controlled by Ashkenazis. They control Hollywood so much that they have to change their names. Because if they gave their real names, all of them, you would see the Cohens and you would see Cohens and Weinsteins and Feinsteins everywhere. So they changed their names so there's not too many of them being seen. Okay? But that's where you at. That's where you at. Okay? Now, so now they worship the first beast. They worship in Rome. All of them. And all the institutions. All the corporations. Do you know the United States is a corporation? I mean, the country's a corporation. Anyway, let's get back to Daniel. Now, we have finished where we stopped in Daniel 11. We had stopped where there was the establishment of the Roman Empire, right? Now, the king of North South fighting. Also, out of that skirmish over the course of many years, you had the establishment of the Roman Empire with the Caesars, right? Okay. And that's where we stopped here. And we stopped at verse 18. Okay. Here's the first king of the Roman Empire. Verse 18 of Daniel 11. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. That's the king. Then here we are in verse 20. This is where Messiah starts to be born, right? Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Who was this man? Who was this man? Luke chapter 2. We talked about this last night. Let's look at it again. Luke chapter 2. Who was this man that was the raiser of taxes of Rome? Luke chapter 2, verse 1. Actually, Luke chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. 1, 2, and 3. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his city. So all the Hebrew Israelites went to the origin of their tribes to get taxed. Why would they do that? Because Rome ruled them. That's why. Because Rome ruled them. That's why. And Caesar Augustus said the whole world should be taxed because the whole world is Roman territory. And so they went all to get registered for the newly formed IRS. The newly formed IRS. Okay, there you go. All right, there you go. So now that's Daniel chapter 11, verse 20. So Caesar Augustus is the raiser of taxes. So now you know where you are historically. So at chapter 11, verse 20, this is the birth of Messiah. Because Messiah was born as a result, what? Miriam and Joseph went to go to Bethlehem to do what? Register to pay their taxes. And she was pregnant with Messiah. She had Messiah, and then they went to Egypt, right? We know they went to Egypt and stayed there a number of years, okay? But they stayed in Bethlehem for a few years because Messiah was like, I think 2 years old when they left. But when Herod gave that decree, he was already 2 years old. Let's take a look at that. Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2. After he was born, let's see. The wise men left, right? So let's take a look at this. Matthew chapter 2 from verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of Yahweh appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. And he arose. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which is spoken by Yahweh, by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I have called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and all the coast thereof from 2 years old and under. So he was 2 years old, because that was the time, according to the wise men, when they saw the star, 2 years. So now Messiah had been 2. They were staying in Bethlehem for 2 years. Then they left to go to Egypt, and you don't hear from Messiah again until he's 12. Okay? You don't hear back from him again until he's 12 years old. All right? So now that's Daniel chapter 11, verse 20. Verse 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with arms of a flood they shall be overthrown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. So that now you're dealing with a whole bunch of years. So Messiah was, the whole situation, Messiah was killed under, before Vespasian. Vespasian was the one in AD 70 that destroyed the city. It might have been under Titus. No, not Titus. I'm sorry. Caligula Caesar. It might have been under Caligula Caesar, because it says a vile person. That was Caligula. So now, verse 23. After the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. Actually, I'm sorry. Messiah was killed. The Bible does tell us that. Let me go back and look at this again, because I'm sorry. It's Luke chapter 3. What we're talking about. Luke chapter 3. We don't have to guess. It's right here. Luke chapter 3. Messiah was killed. Messiah died under Tiberius Caesar. There you go. Luke chapter 3, verse 1. Now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate being governor of Judea, and Herod tetrarch of Galilee, his brother Philip tetrarch of Iturea, in the region of Trachonitis, and Licinius the tetrarch of Abilene, Annas and Caiaphas being the high priest, the word of Yahweh came unto John, the son of Zacharias, in the wilderness. See, now that's setting up the stage. Messiah was crucified under these people. Okay, so this is Tiberius Caesar. Okay, that's under these people. So now you're talking about Tiberius Caesar. Now we know who they're talking about in Daniel chapter 11, verse 21. So it's under Tiberius Caesar that Messiah was crucified. Okay. Now again, there's still war between North and South. South has not completely given up at this point. Okay, and you see that here. Now look, in Daniel 11:22, and with the arms of flood that shall be overthrown from before him and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people, and he shall enter peaceably, even into the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done. No, his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yea, he shall forecast devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And yet he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and a mighty army. And he shall not stand, for he shall forecast devices against him. So this is again, king of the north, the Roman Empire now fighting with opposition from the king of the south, which is still Ptolemy's people at this point. Okay, still Ptolemy's people at this point. So they're still fighting, but the Roman Empire is the established power, but he's still getting opposition. They're not stopping the opposition. Okay, verse 26. Yea, they that feed upon the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both of these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but they shall not prosper for the end, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. So in all negotiations, they lying to each other. Look, that's the same thing as now, right? So when the United States sends the Secretary of State to various countries, and you got the leader of North Korea, the leader of Russia, the leader of China, and they have diplomats meeting each other, and the leader of the Vatican, and they have diplomats meet each other. They're all lying to each other. He said, look, he said, both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table. They're always lying to each other. They're always fronting. Started there, it's still now. Same thing. Okay, because you all see this. I can relate it to what's going on now because you see it, right? So, King of Russia, Vladimir Putin, lying to Trump, right? The dictator North Korea lying to Trump, Trump lying to them. See, that's the way, and it's not just Trump. All presidents, same thing. That don't matter. Who the president is don't matter. Still the same thing. Okay. Verse 28. But this particular case, king of the north is, of course, the Roman Empire, right? Verse 28. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. At the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do, and he shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Now, wait, stop right here. What is this? Notice he said, he shall be grieved and have indignation against the holy covenant. Who is that? We talked about him last time. Who is that had indignation against the holy covenant? What does that mean? That means that indignation against the followers of the way. That was Diocletian. That was Diocletian in the end of the 3rd century, the beginning of the 4th century. He had indignation against, and that's why Messiah, remember, he warned the church of Pergamos, and he said, you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you a crown of life. That was the 10-day reign of terror, or 10-year reign of terror of Diocletian. He had what? He had, his heart was against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits. I mean, he shall really try. The exploits are not always positive. These were negative. He was trying to kill all the followers of the way. Okay? He didn't succeed, but that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted to do. Okay. Shabbat shalom to all in the chat. Sorry, I can't concentrate on this and look at y'all. Sorry about that. Shabbat shalom to all of you. Okay. That's where we're. Verse 31. Right. Here we go. An arm shall stand on his part, and he shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. Now we're at Constantine the Great. Now, again, I want to make sure I stress to you, there were multiple Constantines in the Roman Empire, multiple. But I want to pinpoint the one we're talking about. The first Constantine is called Constantine the First. He was in the beginning of the 4th century. But then his son, who was also called Constantine the First, and another name for the son, and this is why you know who he is, Constantine the Great. That was the second Constantine. He's the one that tried to make peace with the followers of the way by converting to what he said, I'm going to become a Christian. And his Christianity is what we got now, is the extension of what he started. Because remember, the followers of the way did not call themselves Christians. Pagans called them Christian. That's why even you get pagan historians, which will call people that were followers of the way Christian, because that's what pagans do. But the followers of the way, which is followers of the Messiah, who are the way to the Father Yah, they were not calling themselves Christians. They were calling themselves disciples of Messiah, or followers of the way. Messiah being the way, the truth, and the life. The way from Acts chapter 9, verse 2. Followers of the way. Okay. Now, this Constantine the Great became a Christian, because that's what they would call it. And he inculcated in his form of what he's calling Christianity, his pagan beliefs. Multiple gods. That's why you got Trinity. That didn't come with Messiah. That came with Constantine, because he had multiple gods. Worshiping on Sunday, that's the holy day of the Roman pagans. The venerable day of the sun, the venerabilis Dei Solis, venerable day of the sun, Constantine called it. That became Christianity. Okay, and he compromised with those, or should I say those that were followers of the way, the true converts to the true Messiah, compromised for the sake of peace with Constantine. That's what you got in the third church, Pergamos, after Smyrna, Pergamos, Revelation chapter 2. That's why they put Balaam in there. They mentioned Balaam because it was a trick. It's like Balaam counseled Balak to try to thwart the Hebrews. So this is a spiritual thwarting, Balaam thwarting with the compromise with Constantine the Great to establish the beginning of what became Christianity in the Catholic Church. And here you see that. Verse 31. His arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and take away the daily sacrifice, and shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. The daily sacrifice is represented by the true followers of the way, the Hebrew people, because they're the only ones that had a daily sacrifice that was ordained from the Father. And Messiah became the sacrifice. So they removed him, and they replaced it with Christianity, the abomination that maketh desolate. Now, Messiah warned also his followers when he was on the earth, when you see the abomination that maketh desolate from Daniel the prophet, what does that mean? That means when they were going to see a Roman emperor come into the temple, or the image of a Roman emperor, the Romans were the abomination that maketh desolate. And he said, when you see him come into the holy place, I mean, when you see his image in the temple, you know you need to leave. You know you need to leave. And Caligula put his image in the temple. Okay? He put his image in the temple. And it was many years, it was like 20 years, something after that, before the temple was destroyed. But it wasn't like the last minute that this happened and a couple of days later. No. There were years between when that happened and when the place was destroyed. But those years were the time for his chosen people to get out of there, and most of them went to Africa. Okay, what is now called Africa, right? So that's the abomination maketh desolate, is Rome. So then now Constantine comes and he replaces the people of the way with Christianity. Okay, and he has pagan gods. He still kept all his pagan gods. He just added the Christian now that he turned pagan to the rest of it. And then later, again in the 6th century, 508, Clovis becomes a Christian. The King of France is baptized as a Catholic. And he makes a declaration, a decree, that the Bishop of Rome is the corrector of all heretics, establishing the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, so now you have verse 32. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, that is, the compromise. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. So not everybody compromise. There's always a remnant, brethren, that will stay faithful to the truth. And that's all it is, a remnant. You never hear about the Most High talking about his people in anything else but a remnant. Because we're always going to be a minority of people that keep the truth. It's never going to be a majority. And it's never going to be one of these organized religions. It's a nation. It's a scattered nation of a remnant. And that's what Revelation said, right? The seed of the woman that keep the commandments of Yah and the testimony of Messiah. The remnant of the seed of the woman. That's what we are today. Okay. Never think that you're going to get the majority of the world to follow the truth. Not even close. Not even close, brethren. Not even close. Not even close. Okay. Always going to be a small remnant. Just like Noah in his day, Noah and his children represented a remnant. So today. So we have to make sure as individuals that we are following the true way to the Father, who's the Hebrew Messiah of the nation of Israel. We have to make sure that we're seeking the spirit of righteousness from the Father through the true way Messiah, who's the Hebrew Messiah. And only we individually can make that determination. Don't look for crowds to walk with in this one. See, people that look to hide in crowds, you're not going to make it. You got to take a stand for yourself, for the truth that you're convicted on. You cannot stand in a kingdom where brethren who have taken stands for the truth and been killed because they stood alone. You want to eat the same tree of life with them and you haven't taken no stand? That's not going to happen. Every person that's of the remnant has this in common. You have taken a stand for truth. And the truth that you're convicted on will be opposed by the majority of people you know. Okay? It's the truth you're convicted on by the Father's Spirit and His Word. And the majority of people you know are not with it, not going to be with it. Okay? Daniel chapter 11. Let's start again at verse 32. An arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their Most High shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame and by captivity and by spoil many days. That's part of that 2,300 years Daniel was talking about. That's us being scattered. That's us being put to death. That's us being put into slavery. All of that. Okay, many days. And when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. That flatteries is just a fake religion. That's the Christian religion, and that's just a feigned love for truth, not real love for truth, not real followers of truth, just a compromise. That's what it is. It's just a compromise. Okay, we're going to finish with the establishment of the institution of the Roman Church, which was 538 AD, and that's what here, right here. Verse 35, and some of them of understanding shall fall to try them and to purge and to make them white even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelously against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his father, nor the desire of women, nor any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces. And the God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. This is the establishment of the Holy Roman Empire, the institution of the Christian church, which is the institution of the Catholic Church. This is the God of forces, the God whom his fathers knew not, because this is an institution. Never before in history has there been an official institution that represented paganism in such a way that was going to be spread throughout the whole earth. Never. Before or since. Okay, because it all started here. Before this, you had, for example, the Mizraim, the children of Mizraim, the children of Ham had their gods. They had worshiped Ra, the sun god. They worshiped different gods, right? And that was for them. Okay? Then you had different gods, Chemosh. You had Baal, different gods. If you had Dagon, depends if you Philistine or you were Moabite or Ammonite or Edomite or whoever, you had different gods. And that was for that nation, their gods. But this one took all that together. That's why you see the bear, the lion, and the leopard together. Took all of their stuff together and made one institution called the Catholic Church, which is the foundation of Christianity. Okay, so you have a combat. When you see the Pope, he has an Egyptian Maltese cross. He carrying. You ever seen with that stick, that staff? That's an Egyptian symbol. He has a hat on. That's a fish hat from Dagon. See, it's a combination of all of these gods. The Vatican, it sits on a hill, Vaticanus, and it's used to call up witches' spirits. All of these together, he brings together. That's why this is the God that they honor with gold and silver. What do they ask you for when you go to church? Money. That's exactly the God for the church. Money for the church. Am I right? This is for the church, the God that their fathers knew not, shall he honor with gold and precious stones. So, and that's what they'll tell you. Like this, I haven't seen you at church. Are you leaving the church? Why don't you come back to the church? The God which their fathers knew not is the institution of the Christian church, led by the institution of the Roman Catholic Church, which is established at this point as Holy Rome. And we're going to, and I'm not going to read it here today, but we're going to read about the Jesuits after this, and they have gone into all areas of all religious institutions from Vatican I and then Vatican II in 1962. And they have brought under control all of them. First started with all the Christian churches, and then they went into Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism. They control all of them. They control all of them. And the only way we escape is by following the way. The Hebrew Messiah. The Hebrew Messiah, whose bloodline is the Eidos, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that came off the hulls of them slave ships. Those are the true Israelites. And when they awaken to their true God, through the way, the Hebrew Messiah, not white Jesus from Europe. No. Not the Jesus of Christianity. No, that's Roman Catholic. Nope. This is the way. See, the Israelites are not a religion. The Israelites are a nation who have a God. That's different. You understand? When you come to the Israelites and you want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you are joining a people that is scattered throughout the earth through captivity. And their nation is scattered. And the promise is, Yah said, I'm going to bring them back together. And I'm going to bring them back to their own land. But first, they're going to awaken and start to serve me and keep my laws, my statutes, and my commandments. And when they do that, I'm going to bring them back to their own land. When they confess their sins and the sins of their fathers. That's where we are right now. Okay? But here in Revelation chapter 11, verse 37, you see the establishment of the institution, because that's the difference now between a nation and an institution. An institution is an entity founded by man, controlled by man. Institution of Christianity. This, you have different institutions, but a nation that is belonging to the Most High is a nation that was called forth by the Most High. Jacob didn't say, I'm going to change my name to Israel. The Most High's angel came to him and said, your name is no longer Jacob. Your name is Israel. And I'm establish your children as my chosen people. That's what the angel told him. That did not come from him. That came from the third heaven. The children of Israel. That nation was established by the Creator. And those people are people of the Creator. And he loves to bring people that have been down in the mud and bring them out. He loves to do that. He loves to do that. And he's doing it now. See, it's already started. We don't have much longer, brethren. just like I said, a few more years. Now we're going to stop here. I'm going to continue with now that we see the establishment of the institution of the Catholic Church and of the Christian Church, which started in 508. That establishment started actually in the 4th century, 337, with Constantine the Great, the second Constantine. Then after his death, there were a number of emperors that you get to 508, and you have Clovis become a Christian and declare Rome as the corrector of all heretics. That's the establishment of Holy Rome. There was some skirmish over that in Europe, which is why you had the 10 horns, 3 of them plucked up by the roots in Daniel 7 by the little horn, who's now the Holy Roman Empire. And in 538, Justinian establishes officially Holy Rome. He's the emperor of Holy Rome. Okay. 530. All this is historical fact. I'm not making any of this stuff up. You can read it for yourself. We look up Clovis the First, France, King, 508. Justinian, the establishment of the Holy Roman Empire. And they say that, Holy Roman Empire, because now it's changed from Roman Empire. It was changed already under Constantine, because he moved the seat from Rome. He had 2 seats, one in Rome and one in what he called Constantinople. And he created a Christian empire. Then when the Muslims came, in the 6th century, when this Arab man created Islam, they ended up with war with them, and they took over what's now Turkey, and they changed Constantinople to Istanbul, which is what it's named today. Okay, Istanbul, capital of Turkey. Okay, from the Ottoman Empire. All that's historical fact, and it's all here in Daniel and in Revelation. We talked about Revelation chapter 9. That's describing the Ottoman Empire. Okay. In the 5th trumpet. Okay, so we're going to stop here, and we're going to continue with this next time, focusing now on the Holy Roman Empire, which is where we're under right now. What many people don't realize we're under right now, and so we're going to talk about that as we continue the next time. I pray that the Most High will bless you and keep you, and cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you, and lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.